Okay, so you guys sent over a ton of articles on this whole TikTok ban thing.
Yeah,
I get it. It's a big deal. Everyone's talking about it.
it is.
But sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees, you know?
Totally.
What's the real story here?
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just like TikTok is banned.
Right.
We need to understand like why did this actually happen?
Right. Yeah.
What does it mean for all the people who like use TikTok, make content on TikTok,
All right.
and the even bigger picture stuff that, maybe you haven't even thought about yet.
Well, good thing you're here then.
Yeah.
Let's deep dive into these articles and unpack this whole thing.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so first things first. As of January 19th, 2025,
Yep,
TikTok officially banned in the US,
that's right.
over 170 million American users.
Yeah.
Just like that, gone.
Poof.
Poof.
And what's important to realize is this didn't just come out of nowhere.
Right.
This has been, for years, U.S. officials have been raising concerns about TikTok being owned by a Chinese company.
So this goes deeper than just a few politicians having a bad day.
Way deeper.
Okay.
The core issue here is that ByteDance, which is TikTok's parent company,
Right.
they are subject to Chinese law.
Mm-hmm.
And under Chinese law, the government can just demand access to user data from companies.
So not quite like a spy movie situation,
Right.
but the possibility of the Chinese government getting its hands on American user data,
Yeah.
that's a real concern.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even if ByteDance says, oh, no, we'd never share data.
Right.
The potential is there, right? And that's a big deal, especially when you think about how much personal information people put on TikTok.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, okay, so I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
But how did we go from, concerns and whispers to a full-blown ban?
Right.
Did something specific happen that kind of pushed things over the edge?
It was more of a slow burn, I think.
Okay.
It first started heating up back in 2020
Okay.
under the Trump administration. There were talks of a ban then, but nothing really happened.
Right.
Fast forward to 2024, and that's when things really escalated.
And this is where that HR 7521 legislation comes in, right?
You got it.
I saw that mentioned in a few of the articles.
Yeah, in 2024, Congress passed HR 7521,
Okay.
which basically backed ByteDance into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
They had to either sell their U.S. operations to an American company
Okay.
or TikTok would be banned.
Got it.
They tried to fight it, saying it violated free speech rights.
For-
It even went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Wait, the Supreme Court got involved in this?
They did, yeah.
Wow.
And they upheld the law, saying that national security concerns were bigger than free speech arguments in this case.
Wow. Okay, so fast forward again. It's January 19th, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
The ban officially drops.
Boom.
TikTok disappears from app stores.
Gone.
What happened next?
Well, let's just say it wasn't pretty.
Okay.
Think about it for TikTok creators who make a living on that platform.
Right.
Their entire business model evaporated overnight. Yeah.
You go from posting videos, building a following,
Yeah.
to radio silence.
That's gotta be devastating.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't just the creators, right?
Yeah.
All the regular users, the businesses that advertise on TikTok.
Yep.
Even some teachers are using it in their classrooms.
Exactly.
Wow.
It really highlighted just how much we rely on these platforms,
Mm-hmm.
how deeply they're woven into our lives.
Yeah.
Banning one app didn't just create a void, it sent shockwaves through the whole digital landscape,
It's true.
you know?
You know what I find fascinating about this whole thing?
What's that?
It wasn't just one side of the political aisle pushing for this ban.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Yeah.
It was a rare moment of bipartisan agreement.
Right.
In today's political climate,
Totally.
Democrats and Republicans, they might have had different reasons for supporting the ban,
Right.
but they agreed TikTok presented a problem.
Okay, so some were worried about data falling into the wrong hands.
Right. While others saw it as a way to push back against China's growing influence.
Right.
But at the end of the day, both sides were on board with saying bye-bye to TikTok.
Exactly. And it seems like even President-elect Donald Trump, now back in the White House,
Okay.
might be open to giving TikTok another chance.
Wait, really? So TikTok might make a comeback?
There's a possibility.
Okay.
Trump has suggested he might be willing to give ByteDance a 90-day extension to find a solution.
Okay.
But there's a catch.
Yeah.
They have to show they're making serious progress towards selling TikTok's U.S. operations to an American company.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If TikTok isn't owned by a Chinese company, the national security issue goes away,
All right,
right?
exactly.
But what about everyone who got left high and dry when the ban dropped?
Yeah.
All those creators, all those users, where
Yeah.
did they go?
Well, most of them didn't just disappear.
Right.
Think about it. If your favorite restaurant closed down,
Uh-huh.
you'd probably start going to a different one.
Yeah, I guess so.
Same idea here. When TikTok vanished,
Yeah.
users flocked to competitor platforms
Like what?
like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Snapchat Spotlight.
Got it.
They all saw massive surges in new users.
Interesting.
It was like the digital version of a gold rush.
I like that.
Everyone trying to claim their stake in the post-TikTok world.
Okay, but here's where things get a little strange.
Okay.
One of the articles pointed out that RedNote, another app owned by a Chinese company,
Oh, wow.
also got a bump in popularity after the TikTok ban.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
It just goes to show how complex this whole issue is.
Right.
You ban one app, another one pops up.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how we can actually regulate technology in a world where everything's so interconnected.
Totally, and it's only getting more complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this political tug of war,
Mm-hmm.
mass exodus of users, rise of new contenders.
Right?
So what's next? Is this the end of TikTok in America?
Mm.
Or is there still a chance it could make a comeback under new ownership?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And the answer is we don't know for sure.
Okay.
ByteDance is definitely on the hunt for a buyer.
Right.
And some big names have been thrown around, like Elon Musk, Microsoft, even Perplexity AI.
Oh, wow.
But selling a piece of technology like TikTok to a U.S. company,
Yeah.
not as simple as it sounds.
I can imagine that China might not be thrilled about one of its tech giants falling into American hands.
Exactly.
Right.
This whole saga has brought up some pretty major questions,
Like what?
like national security versus free speech, the global tech landscape,
Right.
how much control should governments have over online platforms. It's a
Right.
tangled web, to say the least.
So what you're saying is we're not just talking about dancing videos anymore.
No, not at all.
Okay.
The TikTok ban is a symptom of a much larger shift that's happening in the world of technology.
Okay.
And to understand what happens next, we need to look beyond the app itself
Right.
and understand the forces at play.
I'm with you.
That's what we're going to explore in part 2 of this deep dive.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm ready for part 2.
Yeah.
All right. So we've established this TikTok ban. It's not just about one app.
Right.
It's about power, security, future of the internet as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here?
Hmm.
What are the ripple effects we should be looking out for?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One of the most immediate and obvious consequences, I think,
Okay.
is how this ban plays into the whole national security landscape, right?
Okay.
The U.S. government's essentially drawing a line in the sand saying, we're serious about protecting user data,
Okay.
especially from foreign access.
Okay, but couldn't this set a dangerous precedent, though?
Yeah.
I mean, if we can ban TikTok,
Right.
what's to stop the government from banning other apps
Right.
based on similar concerns?
Right.
Where does it end?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Right.
It's this delicate balancing act between protecting national security
Okay.
and potentially limiting free speech and access to information. Right.
There's definitely a risk that this ban could pave the way for future restrictions on other platforms,
Right.
particularly those with ties to countries that the U.S. sees as rivals.
That's a bit unsettling when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like this digital domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the economic fallout from all of this?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about TikTok creators losing their income,
Right.
but there have to be larger ramifications for the tech industry as a whole, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
This ban could fuel something that experts are calling tech decoupling
okay,
between the U.S. and China.
okay,
Essentially, these two biggest players in the tech world,
right.
they're becoming increasingly isolated from each other,
Interesting.
both in terms of like innovation and the actual flow of technology.
So less collaboration, more competition.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that hurt everyone in the long run?
It's a real possibility.
Yeah.
This trend towards tech decoupling,
Mm-hmm.
it could stifle innovation, limit consumer choices.
Right. And ultimately slow down global tech growth.
That makes sense.
We've already seen this play out with companies like Huawei and ZTE
Right.
facing restrictions in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
The TikTok ban could be like a major turning point in how the U.S. and China interact in the tech sphere.
Okay, so the stakes are high.
Yeah.
The implications are global.
Big time.
Let's bring it back to ByteDance for a second.
Okay.
And their quest to sell off TikTok's U.S. operations.
Mm-hmm.
If the goal is to get TikTok out of Chinese hands,
Right.
Why is it taking so long to finalize a sale?
Right.
I'm sure there are tons of companies lining up to take over TikTok.
Yeah, it's not as straightforward as it might seem.
Okay.
There's a lot of political maneuvering and economic chess playing going on behind the scenes.
Right.
From the U.S. perspective, regulators want to make absolutely sure that any sale completely eliminates those national security concerns.
Okay.
They want ironclad guarantees that user data will be protected
Right.
and that the new owner won't be influenced by the Chinese government. It's a tall order.
I bet China has a few things to say about all this, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're not just going to let one of their most successful tech companies get snatched up without a fight.
You're exactly right.
Right.
China has its own strategic interests to protect. They're wary of their cutting-edge technology,
Okay.
particularly TikTok's incredibly powerful algorithms
Right.
falling into the hands of American companies.
Right. So it's not just about money for them.
No.
It's about national pride,
Absolutely.
maintaining a competitive edge.
It's a big deal for them.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds like we've got a stalemate brewing here.
Yeah, kinda.
The U.S. wants to safeguard national security.
Mm-hmm.
China wants to maintain its tech dominance.
Yep.
ByteDance is caught in the middle, trying to salvage their U.S. business.
Yep. Stuck between a rock and a hard place.
It really is.
It's a high-stakes game, each side trying to outmaneuver the other.
Yeah.
And the outcome will have a ripple effect on the entire tech landscape. It could set the precedent for how future cross-border tech deals are handled.
Wow.
Not just between the U.S. and China, but globally.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play out a hypothetical scenario here.
Okay.
Let's say a sale does happen.
All right.
An American company comes in, buys TikTok's U.S. operations,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone agrees the national security concerns have been addressed.
Okay.
Is that the happy ending? Is everything back to normal?
Not so fast.
Go.
There are still a lot of unanswered questions, like, for starters, can a new owner truly replicate TikTok's success
Right.
without access to those core algorithms
Right.
that made it so effective in the first place?
That's a good point.
Those algorithms, that's the secret sauce behind TikTok's rise to fame.
Yeah. They were really good at getting people hooked.
The best, yeah.
So even if a new owner could somehow recreate that magic,
Right.
what about the trust factor?
Yeah.
After all this controversy, all this uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
will users feel comfortable returning to a platform?
Right. Was essentially forced to change ownership.
That's the other big hurdle.
Yeah,
Trust is a fragile thing,
it is.
especially in the digital world.
Right.
Users need to believe that their data is safe, their privacy is respected, and that the platform has their best interests in mind.
Yeah.
Rebuilding that trust will be a massive challenge for any new owner of TikTok.
This whole saga has really made me think about the apps I use.
Yeah.
The data I share. Who's really in control of it all?
Right.
It's not just about entertainment anymore.
Right.
It's about privacy, security, even international politics.
It's a real wake-up call for all of us.
Yeah.
And it raises this fundamental question.
What is it?
What role should governments play in regulating these powerful platforms
Right.
that have become so integral to our lives?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if there are any easy answers,
Me neither.
but it's a conversation we need to be having. Absolutely, yeah. And it's a conversation we'll continue to have in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore potential solutions, the challenges ahead,
Okay.
and what all of this means for the future of the internet as we know it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. The ban, the fallout, the political tug of war, the economic uncertainties. It's a lot to process, but now I want to talk about solutions. Is there a way out of this TikTok mess? Can we find a balance between national security and, the freedom to use and create on these platforms?
It's a tough question, no doubt about it. But there are a few potential paths forward. One, as we've discussed, is a successful sale of TikTok's U.S. operations to an American company. If that happens, and the new owner can address those national security concerns and rebuild user trust,
Right.
TikTok could potentially stage a comeback.
But we also talked about how tricky that sale could be.
Yeah.
China might not want to let go.
Right.
And even if a sale does go through, there's no guarantee that the new TikTok will be the same.
Right.
What other options are on the table?
Well, there's the regulation route.
Okay.
The U.S. government could work with other countries
Okay.
to establish some kind of international standards
Okay.
for data security and privacy
Yeah.
for all social media platforms,
Okay.
regardless of where they're based.
So instead of targeting individual apps,
Right.
We create like a global framework that applies to everyone.
Exactly.
That seems a lot fairer.
It could be,
Yeah.
but it would require a ton of international cooperation,
Right.
which is never easy.
Never easy.
And then there's the issue of enforcement.
Right. Right.
How do you actually make sure everyone's following the rules?
Yeah.
But it might be a way to address those underlying concerns about data security
Okay.
without resorting to outright bans.
It feels like we've been talking a lot about governments and companies.
Yeah.
But what about the users?
Yeah, good point.
What role do they play in all of this?
Right.
Can they actually influence how this situation unfolds?
Absolutely. They have way more power than they realize. They can choose which platforms they use,
Mhm.
they can advocate for their digital rights,
Right.
and they can hold these companies accountable for how they handle user data.
Yeah.
The more informed and engaged users are,
Right.
the more pressure they can put on both governments and tech companies
Got it.
to find solutions that actually work for everyone.
This whole TikTok saga has really been an eye-opener for me. It's made it clear that these apps we use aren't just about having fun and killing time anymore.
Yeah,
They're connected to some really complex issues.
for sure.
National security, global politics, individual rights. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. I think it's a reminder that technology is never neutral. It's shaped by the people who create it,
Okay.
the governments that regulate it,
Right.
and the users who interact with it.
It's all connected.
It is, and as technology keeps evolving,
Yeah.
these conversations about security, freedom, and accountability,
Hmm.
they're only going to become more important.
So where do we go from here? What should people be thinking about as this story continues to unfold?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking questions.
Okay.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Right.
Think critically about the information you're consuming online,
Mm-hmm.
be mindful of the apps you're using,
Right.
and make conscious choices about your digital life.
Well said. This deep dive has given us all a lot to think about, from spy movie anxieties to political power plays to the future of the internet itself. This TikTok ban is a story with far-reaching implications. And as we've learned, it's far from over.
Exactly. The digital world is constantly in flux.
Yeah.
And it's up to all of us to stay informed, adaptable, and engaged
Right.
as we navigate these increasingly complex issues.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the TikTok ban.
My pleasure.
We'll be back soon to explore another fascinating topic. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring the ever-evolving world around us.